think that California would be one of the can'ts, but their governor, as well as the governor of New York, has said that they'll try to make it work. Well, I don't know what that means exactly, but at least their heart is in the right place, for whatever that's worth. I am kind of bummed that there's nobody here, because I really did like the trivia thing. Anyway, it is Sunday, and there's so much else going on. So in the Major League Baseball, they had the opt-out thing. And in the opt-out thing, the way that it read was, if a player has a medical condition that puts them at risk, or if they have a member of their immediate family, like a kid with lupus or something, they could opt out a season with normal pay, or whatever the agreed pay was based on the prorated system. But they also put a line there that said that anybody that didn't want to play, who didn't have that problem, could still opt out, and it's zero pay. And now I know this didn't become the rule, but the interesting about that is that Major League Baseball Players Association wouldn't have asked for that if there weren't a decent number of players who are saying, I don't care what they do, I'm not playing. You know, even if it means I don't get paid a cent, I'm not playing. And that's the scary part about playing fantasy baseball in 2020, is that you don't know who's not going to play. You may have all your things in a row and say like, oh, what a steal I got with George Springer in the second round at pick number 22, and then it turns around on August 3rd when baseball is supposed to begin. He's like, I'm not playing because my health is too important to me. And I'm not knocking Springer, and I don't even think he's one of them. I actually tried to enlist the help of some people on Twitter and whatever to get statements made by players who said they were not going to play. And I didn't get as much help with it. But anybody who knows of stuff, I am building a database. I have about 18 names in it. But we really need to know. We need to gather information as much as we can to find out who we think isn't going to play. You know, because we need to, if we're drafting or if we're playing the season, draft using the same logic we would if a guy was recovering from Tommy John surgery or was super injury prone or something. We need to discount that guy a little bit. We'd rather have a guy, if you have two players that are relatively equivalent in your mind, like Anthony Rizzo and Jose Abreu. If I know, I like Rizzo better than Abreu, generally speaking. Not just because I'm a Cub fan. But if I know that Rizzo's not playing, I'm picking Abreu. Or if I have the inkling that Rizzo's not playing. Or if I learn that Anthony Rizzo's got a child with, some kind of disease that makes him playing and bringing home something to his family much more. If I knew that, then I can make the right pick. The problem is we don't know that right now. And unlike in most years where the spread of information is fairly democratic, almost everybody knows almost all the same things. This year there's going to be a differential in how much some people know versus others based on how well tuned in they are to the system. There is no way that the casual fantasy baseball player is going to know all of these little nooks and crannies about who's sick and who's near people who are sick, whereas a fanatic could know, by knowing 15% of them, would have an advantage. You're going to find a lot of disappointment that way, which really brings me to the second part of what I was going to do today. I really am bummed that there's nobody here. I could just sit here in silence for a little bit. Is that right? Yeah, I guess it is. I was just looking through the chat room and some of the older chats. So, the nature of being a baseball fan is that we have passions about things, and when somebody steps on those passions, we tend to respond in very colorful ways. very passionate ways, and you get arguments that are there. But one of the great things about baseball arguments is that they're just baseball arguments. Deep down, we all know that they don't really matter. And that's something I want to say. Another thing that happened besides that's interesting about what was announced this week is that the Commissioner of Baseball came forward and said, we are 100% going to have baseball this year. Which superficially sounds really good. But if you listen to it, and you listen to his tone and whatever, you've heard that tone before. You've heard it plenty of times before. He came out and said that there's going to be a 100% chance we're going to play baseball this year. The same way that owners will go out and say, we have all our faith in our manager. And you know that the only time that people come out and say they have faith in their manager is when they don't have faith in the manager. Because if they have faith in the manager, it sort of goes without saying. And so the reason why he came out and said they're 100% that we're going to have baseball this year is because he has real doubts of whether we're going to play baseball this year. And so do I. I mean, I think it's funny that we're bickering back and forth about how little money the owners want to pay, but the health issue side really hasn't been addressed one way or the other outside of these opt-out things, which is the simple answer. You just say, like, if a guy doesn't want to play because he's scared, then he doesn't have to play. We could pay him a little less as long as his fear isn't founded in real medical problems. That is a great way of coming across on that. But so the original agreement in March says that what they agreed to on the medical issue was if the state departments say it's okay to play, then that's good enough to say they're okay to play. And I think that was a pretty reasonable thing. The one thing, if you're saying that, if you want to say that the owners had no idea there's a chance they're going to play, they're not going to play in front of any fans for most of the year. Well, I think that when the Major League Baseball Players Association agreed to that, they were working on the assumption that most governors of most states were actually concerned about people in their state dying. And that's because they never really spent any time with Florida's own Ron DeSantis, who really probably would kick people in front of buses if he had his way. But to him, it's more important that we get out there and do things, even though this last week has been the worst week in Florida for recorded coronavirus new cases. And that doesn't bode well. And we're not the only ones that are in that boat where things are bad now and much worse than they were when they made these things. A lot of the states like Arizona, Texas, Georgia, a lot of these states are like that. It does seem like, based on what we've seen, that New York and the New York metropolitan area, which includes Jersey and Connecticut, have gone through their phase one. But the rest of us haven't, or hadn't yet. We're in the middle of it, trying to come down it. And the players probably didn't think that the governor would say, yeah, who cares if people die? Go play. Who cares if people die? I mean, it's really easy in hindsight to say that things were mishandled. And the truth is, this being so unique of a situation, every time we've had a major epidemic, we've been able to do early response and quarantine it to a geographic location. This is the first time that anything had gotten to the level of community spread anywhere near or on American soil. And so they were working uncharted waters, and because of that, and because they're not gods, they're not going to get everything right. But, the amount that they got wrong is still something you can hold against them. So, they shut the world down for a little bit, but probably not long enough. And they brought people back. And there is sort of a blend you have to do between getting people, maintaining the economy, which is hurt regardless. They've reopened the economy, and it still has a lot of significant issues because people aren't going to be doing a lot of the things that they would otherwise be doing if they thought that things were going to be better in 3 months. Things were going to be fine in 3 months, because the outlook for most people is things aren't going to be fine for quite a while. And you see a drop-off in In larger vacations, I live in Florida. We have a drop off in people coming here. You see a drop off in a new housing start. You see a drop off in heavy goods. What do they call that? Like washer, dryer, refrigerator, purchasing of that stuff. People are doing a little more make do because they're a little bit more worried than average. So anyway, I was like, how would I find out about every state? I mean, I know Florida pretty well. I know Georgia because I live there. I got a lot of friends in Chicago, so I get Illinois. I get reports from friends of mine in Washington State and California State, but not in all 50 states. And I thought, hey, I do work with the Little League in Maitland, and Little League has people in every state. So I was going to go to their national resources and see what they say. And this is really kind of an interesting thing to do elsewhere. They have a great plan for opening things. I think there's some inherent flaws in the plan in Little League because, one of those is that it's to not allow people to go to the bathroom, close the bathrooms. Or if you do it with bathrooms, that you only allow one person at a time in the bathroom. You really cannot keep bathrooms away from kids for that long. Especially, I work mostly with the 8 and under crowd, especially the 8 and under crowd. If they don't go to the bathroom when they say they go to the bathroom or within the 3 or 4 minutes afterwards, they're just going to pee their pants. And that's something that I did not sign up for as a baseball coach. You sign up for it as a dad, I signed up for it as an uncle, that's okay, but not as a baseball coach. Anyway, somebody asked them the question, and this is the $64 million question, the most important question that it's been brought up sometime. We brought it up here on Lenny Melnick Fantasy Network. But it's like, what liability is there if somebody catches coronavirus from going to your game? I go to the Yankees game, I catch coronavirus, I get sick, I go on a respirator. Whatever happens, let's say they have to amputate my legs, and it's from there. Does their insurance cover it? So somebody asked that. It's like, hey, we have insurance in our league. Does our insurance cover somebody getting sick here? And we have great insurance. Every time I've seen somebody get really hurt, they've been taken care of. I've never heard a bad thing said about it. Never heard somebody, say they got harassed by the guys. Some people have good insurance. And Little League, because most leagues' insurance policy is given them through the Little League service themselves, through AIG, one of the largest groups out there. They just take care of it. It's fine. We're such a huge customer that they're not going to, dicker around with us. So the moderator of the forum said, I don't know, but most of us are with AIG. I'll send them a letter and get them to come and answer it instead of me, because they're the guys that know, and the few of you that insure elsewhere. So when you get this letter back, there's 2 answers that are fine, because you know what to do. They could say, no, we don't cover it. No, you don't like that answer because it means there's no baseball. But if they say we don't cover it, you just don't play. And that's all fine and good. Or they could say, yes, we do cover it. In which case, you're fine to go play. But you didn't get that answer. That's something completely different. The answer was, there are so many factors and variables at play at this that each situation is going to have to assess individually. And a decision will be made that way. So, reading between the lines, like I said before, what does that mean? It means, 1, the insurance companies are going to try to figure out a way not to cover it if it does happen. So most people who think they're covered are sensibly not covered. Now, admittedly, people have... This isn't an act of God situation where they can just write it off. People have gotten sick through viruses at their work and gotten judgments. My mother, who works at a hospital, because of a fault in their air ventilation system, contracted tuberculosis. That sounds awful, doesn't it? The life we live. She was given money to help with tuberculosis. Now she has a good kind of tuberculosis. And the fact that, she never really showed symptoms. She just has the stuff. Some people are like that, right? But they tested everybody, and she was among the group that has it. So the insurance covered that. So it would stand to reason that insurance would cover this, But because at the final end of the thing, a certain percentage